Hello and welcome, dear listeners. Thank you for choosing to spend time with us at Cheating Tales Lab today. We've prepared a compelling story that we think you'll find fascinating. Let's jump right in. The operating room fell silent as Dr. Everett Higgins made the final suture, completing the complex 12-hour surgery that had saved yet another life. The rhythmic beeping of monitors provided a steady backdrop as he stepped back, rolling his shoulders to release the tension. Time of completion, 3:47 p.m., he announced, his voice carrying the quiet authority that had earned him his position as head of trauma surgery at Mercy General. Excellent work, everyone. Another miracle, Dr. Higgins, Nurse Martinez commented as she began the post-operation procedures. The family's been waiting since dawn. Everett nodded, maintaining his professional demeanor despite his exhaustion. The next 24 hours are critical, but I'm optimistic. Please ensure hourly monitoring and alert me immediately if there are any changes. In the scrub room, Everett caught his reflection in the mirror as he washed up. At 42, his dark hair showed touches of silver at the temples, earning him respect rather than aging him. The lines around his eyes spoke of countless hours spent in surgery, saving lives others had deemed unsavable. His phone showed 3 missed calls from Jillian, but no messages. Typical. She'd probably planned another charity gala or designer shopping spree. After 7 years of marriage, he learned to navigate her social demands while maintaining his commitment to his patients. Next week's anniversary dinner at Le Cirque had been booked months in advance, her favorite restaurant, though he found it pretentious. The drive home in his Tesla, her choice, naturally, took 15 minutes. Everett noticed Mrs. Peterson from next door, giving him an odd look as he pulled into the driveway of their Victorian home. The house had been his grandmother's final gift to him, though Jillian had insisted on extensive renovations to match her taste. The front door opened smoothly with his key, but something felt off. The usual scent of expensive candles was replaced by the chemical sweetness of designer perfume, too much of it. Luggage sounds echoed from upstairs. "Jillian?" he called out, his surgeon's instincts picking up subtle warnings in the atmosphere. "Oh, you're early." Her voice drifted down, carrying an unfamiliar tone of dismissal. "I thought you'd be cutting into someone until midnight." Everett climbed the stairs, his footsteps measured on the hardwood she'd insisted on importing from Italy. The master bedroom door stood open, revealing a scene that made him pause. Louis Vuitton suitcases, his birthday gift to her last month, lined the wall. Jillian stood by their walk-in closet, methodically folding designer clothes he'd bought her over the years. Her blonde hair was freshly styled, makeup perfect, wearing the red Valentino dress he'd never seen before. "Going somewhere?" he asked, his voice calm despite the surreal scenario unfolding before him. Jillian didn't even look up. "I'm going on honeymoon with Mike from HR, deal with it or leave." The silence that followed held the weight of 7 years of marriage. Everett studied his wife, noting details like he would a patient's symptoms. Her perfectly manicured hands continued folding clothes, her diamond wedding ring catching the light. "Mike from HR," he repeated, his tone analytical rather than emotional. "The one who organized last month's hospital fundraiser?" "The very same." Now she looked up, her blue eyes holding a mixture of contempt and amusement. "He's twice the man you'll ever be, Everett. While you're playing hero in the oar, he knows how to treat a woman." Everett leaned against the doorframe, his surgical precision now focused on understanding the situation. "And our anniversary dinner next week at Le Cirque?" Her laugh cut through the room like a scalpel. "Oh, grow up. Did you really think I'd waste another evening watching you check your phone for hospital updates? Mike's taking me to Bali. First class, of course." "I see." Everett's voice remained steady, his mind already cataloging inconsistencies. "And the house? Our accounts?" Jillian's smirk widened as she closed another suitcase. "Don't worry about the house payments. Mike says I'll get everything in the divorce anyway. His brother's a judge." She checked her reflection in the mirror, adjusting her hair. "You really should have paid more attention to the paperwork I had you sign last month." The wheels of her luggage rolled smoothly across their hardwood floors as she moved toward the door. Everett didn't step aside immediately, causing her to pause. "Move, Everett. Unlike you, Mike doesn't keep me waiting." She patted his cheek condescendingly. "Don't bother calling my parents. They've known about Mike for months." They always said I could do better than a workaholic surgeon. Everett stepped aside, his movement deliberate. You'd better hope you never need a workaholic surgeon, Jillian. She was halfway down the stairs when his words reached her. By the way, I never signed those papers. You might want to check with your boyfriend about that. Her step faltered slightly, but she recovered, her heels clicking aggressively on the marble foyer floor. The front door opened and closed, leaving behind only the lingering scent of her overdone perfume. Everett waited until he heard a car pull away before moving. His steps took him to his home office, the one room Jillian had never been allowed to renovate. The leather chair creaked softly as he sat, opening his laptop with practiced efficiency. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Through the security camera feed on his screen, he saw Mrs. Peterson standing on the porch, wringing her hands. "Dr. Higgins," she said when he opened the door. Her kind face creased with concern. I couldn't help but notice." "Come in, Mrs. Peterson." Everett led her to the kitchen, starting the coffee maker. "I believe you have something to tell me." The elderly woman sat at the kitchen island, watching as he moved with surgical precision, preparing 2 cups of coffee. "They've been meeting here while you were at work. That HR fellow and your wife. I wanted to tell you sooner, but Margaret, my daughter, said it wasn't my place." Everett placed a cup before her, noting how her hands trembled slightly. "How long?" "Months, at least." "They weren't discreet." Mrs. Peterson added cream to her coffee, her voice dropping. "Last week, I overheard them in the garden. They were laughing about some papers, saying once they were filed, she'd get the house and half the hospital department." "Thank you for telling me, Mrs. Peterson." Everett's voice remained kind, though his eyes had hardened. "Would you be willing to write down what you've witnessed? Dates, times, conversations you've overheard?" "Of course, dear. Margaret, she's a lawyer, you know. She said I should document everything." She reached into her cardigan pocket, pulling out a small notebook. "I've been keeping track. Force of habit from my teaching days." As Everett reviewed the meticulously dated entries, his phone buzzed. A text from Lorraine, his office manager. "Emergency at the hospital. Need you immediately. Mrs. Peterson, would you excuse me? Duty calls." He stood, already reaching for his keys. "Would you mind if I kept this notebook for now?" "Keep it." "And Everett?" She touched his arm gently. "That woman never deserved you. My Harold, God rest his soul. He was a surgeon too. I know what it means to be married to someone who saves lives." The drive back to Mercy General took 12 minutes this time. Everett's mind cataloged facts and observations, fitting pieces together like a complex surgical procedure. The hospital parking lot was unusually full for the hour, and he noticed Mike's ostentatious red Porsche in the HR section. Inside, the usual hospital sounds were overshadowed by raised voices from the administration wing. Everett recognized Sophia Reynolds' precise legal tone cutting through the chaos. "You cannot access confidential medical records without proper authorization," Sophia was saying as Everett approached. "Step away from that terminal immediately." Lorraine stood by her desk, face flushed, as Mike Love loomed over her computer. The HR director's expensive suit couldn't hide his physical softness, though he tried to compensate with an aggressive stance. "I have full authority as head of HR," Mike was saying, his voice carrying the smug confidence of someone unused to being challenged. "These performance reviews are essential for—" "They're essential for your attempted coup, Mr. Love?" Everett's voice cut through the tension. Everyone turned, Lorraine's relief visible as she stepped away from her desk. Mike's face showed a flicker of surprise before settling into a practiced smile. "Dr. Higgins, shouldn't you be home with your wife?" "My wife?" Everett moved forward, his presence causing Mike to step back despite himself. "You mean the one you're planning to take to Bali? First class, I hear. Tell me, does the hospital board know you use HR resources to seduce doctors' wives?" "That's a serious accusation," Mike blustered, though his confidence wavered as Sophia began taking notes. "Jillian and I are currently stealing hospital property, I believe." Everett gestured to the security feed visible on Lorraine's screen, showing Jillian slipping into the pharmacy storage area. "Not very subtle, Mike. But then, subtlety isn't your strong suit, is it?" Dr. Higgins, Sophia interjected smoothly, perhaps we should continue this discussion in my office. Mrs. Peterson's documentation, combined with this current situation, provides an interesting legal framework. Mike's face paled slightly. Mrs. Peterson? The neighbor? Among others. Everett's smile held no warmth. Lorraine, I believe you have something to tell me? His office manager straightened, meeting his gaze directly. They asked me to help them access your files, Dr. Higgins. Personal and professional. I made copies of everything they took. Ms. Reynolds has been documenting their activities for weeks. You bitch. Mike's composure cracked. We had a deal. The deal, Lorraine's voice shook but held firm, was before I found out you were planning to frame Dr. Higgins for medical malpractice. I've worked with him for 10 years. He's saved more lives than you've had hot dinners. Security cameras caught Jillian's reaction when she emerged from the pharmacy to find hospital security waiting. Her screams about being Mrs. Higgins echoed through the corridors, followed by the distinct sound of expensive jewelry hitting tile floors as she was escorted out. In Sophia's office, Everett reviewed the evidence she'd been gathering. They've been systematically draining joint accounts, she explained, displaying bank statements. Fortunately, your private accounts and the house title remain secure. Mrs. Peterson's documentation of their conversations about fraudulent paperwork is particularly damning. And the medical board? Everett's question was practical. Already notified. Mr. Love's pattern of targeting successful doctors through their wives has apparently occurred at other hospitals. His brother's judicial position protected him previously, but this time... Sophia's smile was predatory. This time we have video evidence of medical supply theft and attempted fraud. A knock interrupted them. Nancy Carter, the new neurosurgeon, stood in the doorway, her professional demeanor unchanged by the drama unfolding around her. Dr. Higgins? Your 4 o'clock trauma consultation is ready. Unless you need to reschedule? Everett stood, straightening his white coat. No need, Dr. Carter. My personal situation doesn't affect my patients. He turned to Sophia. Handle the legal details. I have lives to save. As he walked away, he heard Mike's voice rising in protest from the security office, followed by the distinct sound of handcuffs clicking shut. Somewhere in the building, Jillian was probably still demanding her rights as Mrs. Higgins. In the elevator, Nancy Carter spoke without looking up from her tablet. For what it's worth, Dr. Higgins, the entire neurology department stands with you. Your work here is invaluable. Thank you, Dr. Carter. Everett's focus was already shifting to his waiting patient. Personal drama could wait. Right now, someone needed his skills as a surgeon. The rest of his shift passed with the focused intensity he was known for. He performed 2 emergency surgeries, held 3 consultations, and updated worried families without once letting his personal situation affect his professional judgment. It was past midnight when he finally returned home. The house felt different now, cleared of Jillian's superficial touches. In his office, he reviewed the security footage Sophia had compiled, watching dispassionately as months of betrayal unfolded on screen. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You'll regret this. Mike's brother will destroy you. Everett's response was brief. Counting on it, another text arrived, this one from Sophia. Judge Love has just been notified of our evidence. He's recusing himself from all hospital-related cases. Apparently, judicial misconduct investigations are career-ending. Setting his phone aside, Everett began methodically removing Jillian's photos from his office walls. Each frame joined a growing pile, her smiling face becoming less convincing with each revelation. The last photo, taken at a hospital fundraiser, showed her hanging on Mike's arm while Everett performed emergency surgery on a crash victim. Mrs. Peterson's lights were still on next door. Through the window, he could see her talking to a professional-looking woman who had to be Margaret, the lawyer daughter. They were reviewing papers, probably adding to the documentation that would help dismantle Mike's carefully constructed scheme. Tomorrow, he had 3 surgeries scheduled. Lives that needed saving, families waiting for miracles. Jillian had never understood that his dedication wasn't a choice. It was who he was. The house phone rang, displaying Jillian's parents' number. He let it go to voicemail, unsurprised by the message. Everett, this is Richard. How dare you have our daughter escorted out by security? Mike is a respected professional. The message cut off as Everett deleted it. His in-laws had always preferred Mike's country club membership to his surgical credentials. They learned soon enough what their future son-in-law really was. A final text came through as he prepared for bed. Dr. Higgins, tomorrow's board meeting has been moved to 7 a.m. Your presence is requested to discuss recent events. Hospital administration. Understood, he replied, setting his alarm. Whatever schemes Jillian and Mike had planned, they'd failed to consider one crucial fact. Everett Higgins hadn't become a renowned trauma surgeon by backing down from a fight. In the quiet of his grandmother's house, surrounded by evidence of betrayal, Everett felt no regret, no loss, only a surgeon's clarity about what needed to be done. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, but for now, he had all he needed. The truth, his skills, and the knowledge that sometimes the most precise cuts were the ones that removed toxic influences from one's life. The night settled around him, promising changes to come. But that was tomorrow's surgery. Tonight, he would rest, ready to face whatever the morning brought with the same steady hands that had saved countless lives. In the distance, a siren wailed. Another emergency, another life hanging in the balance. But for once, someone else would handle it. Tonight, Dr. Everett Higgins had performed a different kind of surgery, one that had cut away a cancer from his own life. And like all his surgeries, it had been a complete success. The emergency alert blared through Mercy General's corridors at 6:47 a.m. Dr. Everett Higgins was already reviewing patient charts when the first calls came in. Multiple vehicle pileup on I-95, the trauma coordinator announced, her voice steady despite the urgency. Initial reports indicate at least 12 critical cases incoming. First ambulances arriving in 10 minutes. Everett moved with practiced efficiency, his mind already mapping out resource allocation. The past week's attempts by Mike and Jillian to have him suspended had failed, but he knew they were watching, waiting for any mistake. Dr. Higgins, a nervous intern, approached, holding out a phone. HR department is demanding you recuse yourself due to personal issues. Everett took the phone, his voice carrying the cold precision that had made him renowned in the OR. Mr. Love, I have multiple trauma cases incoming. Unless you'd like to explain to the board why your personal vendetta interfered with emergency care, I suggest you focus on your HR paperwork. He ended the call as the first ambulance sirens approached. The ER doors burst open, paramedics wheeling in a young man with severe chest trauma. John Matthews, 24, trapped in vehicle for 40 minutes, the paramedic reported. Governor Wilson's nephew. BP dropping. The next 6 hours passed in a blur of focused intensity. Everett moved from one surgery to another, his hands steady, his decisions swift and precise. Between operations, he caught glimpses of Mike hovering near administration, his expensive suit out of place among the medical personnel. After the fourth successful surgery, Hospital Director Stevens appeared in the scrub room. Remarkable work, Dr. Higgins. The governor himself called to thank us for saving his nephew. The whole team performed excellently, Everett replied, preparing for the next case. Though I understand some wanted me removed from duty today. Stevens' expression hardened. Yes, we received some concerning reports about your stability. However, your performance today speaks for itself. The board has unanimously rejected the suspension request. As if on cue, Everett's phone buzzed with a text from Jillian. Enjoying Bali while you play hero. Mike says the suspension's just delayed. Tick-tock. Attached was a photo of them on a beach, her smug smile matching Mike's artificial tan. In the background, Everett noticed something interesting, a sign for the rival hospital's medical tourism center. Dr. Stevens, he called as the director turned to leave. You might want to look into any recent patient transfers to Pacific Medical's overseas facilities. The next case proved particularly challenging, a pregnant woman with internal bleeding. As Everett worked, he remained aware of the observation window, where hospital board members had gathered to watch. His focus never wavered. How does he do it? One board member whispered to another. With everything happening, that's why he's head of trauma, came the response. Personal drama stays outside his OR. The surgery succeeded, mother and baby both stable. As Everett emerged, He found Sophia Reynolds waiting with a tablet. "Your wife and her boyfriend have been busy," she said, pulling up surveillance footage. "While you were saving lives, they were on a video call with Lorraine, planning their next move." The footage showed Lorraine in tears, clearly being pressured. "They want access to your private practice records," Sophia explained. "Apparently, Mike's brother has interests in several medical tourism ventures. Let them plot," Everett replied, checking his next surgical schedule. "Every conversation, every plan, every threat. Document everything." A new face appeared in the surgical wing that afternoon. Dr. Nancy Carter, recently appointed head of neurosurgery, was reviewing charts when Everett passed by. "Impressive work today, Dr. Higgins," she commented, her professional demeanor a stark contrast to Jillian's affected sophistication. "5 critical surgeries, 0 complications. Despite certain parties' best efforts to prove you unstable." Everett paused, noting her direct gaze and competent presence. "You've been briefed on the situation?" "The board felt I should know, given the attempted interference with emergency protocols." She handed him a coffee black, no sugar. "I reviewed your surgical records from the past 5 years. Your dedication to patient care is evident. Unlike some, I respect that dedication." Their conversation was interrupted by another emergency call. Working together, they saved an elderly man with combined cardiac and neurological complications. Their coordination in the OR was seamless, based on shared commitment rather than emotional drama. Between cases, Everett received updates from his investigative team. Sophia's network had uncovered a pattern. Mike had done this before, targeting successful doctors through their wives, then using HR positions to force them out. Previous victims had been silenced through his brother's judicial influence. Dr. Higgins, a security officer, approached during his brief lunch break. "We've documented Mrs. Higgins and Mr. Love accessing restricted areas during their business meetings. The footage has been secured." Everett reviewed the security feeds on his tablet. The images show Jillian and Mike emerging from the hospital's records room late at night, carrying files. Another clip captured them in the pharmacy storage area, cataloging supplies. "Send everything to Ms. Reynolds," he instructed, "and upgrade the security protocols for all restricted areas." A text from Mrs. Peterson arrived. "They're calling your former patients, dear. Trying to find complaints. Margaret's documenting everything." Everett's response was brief. "Perfect. Let them dig." That evening, as the crisis cases stabilized, Hospital Director Stevens called an emergency board meeting. The governor had sent a commendation for Everett's handling of his nephew's case. Mike's suspension request was officially rejected, with a note for HR review of potential harassment. In his office, Everett reviewed the day's developments with Sophia. The evidence against Mike and Jillian was mounting. Unauthorized access to medical records, attempted interference with emergency care, documented patterns of harassment. "They're getting sloppy," Sophia observed, organizing files. "Your wife just posted photos from their dinner with Pacific Medical's board members, including Mike's brother, the judge." "Not my wife much longer," Everett corrected, signing surgical reports. "How's the investigation into their previous victims?" 3 doctors at different hospitals lost their positions after similar situations. All cases overseen by Judge Love, all records conveniently sealed. Sophia's smile was predatory. Until now. A knock interrupted them. Dr. Carter entered, carrying brain scans. "Dr. Higgins, I'd like your opinion on this trauma case. If you're not too busy with personal matters." The way she said it, professional yet understanding, struck a chord. Here was someone who saw medicine as a calling, not a path to social status. They spent the next hour discussing the case, their shared dedication evident in every exchange. Meanwhile, across the world, Jillian and Mike lounged in their luxury resort, unaware of the documentation building against them. Their phones buzzed with updates from Lorraine, who was secretly copying every message for Everett's legal team. "That idiot actually saved the governor's nephew," Mike complained, ordering another overpriced cocktail. "But don't worry, baby. Once we get control of his private practice." Jillian adjusted her designer sunglasses, purchased with funds from their drained joint account. "I can't wait to see his face when he loses everything. No more emergency calls interrupting our dinner parties." Their laughter carried across the beach, recorded by a discreet investigator Sophia had hired. Every boast, every plan, every admission captured for future use. Back at Mercy General, Everett completed his final surgery of the day. The observation gallery had been full, not with Jillian's social climbers this time, but with medical students and residents, watching a master at work. They tried to suspend him. One resident whispered, "Can you imagine? Best trauma surgeon on the East Coast. Did you hear about his wife?" Another replied, "Running off with that HR guy? Man's performing life-saving surgery while they're stealing hospital supplies." Dr. Carter appeared beside him as he reviewed post-op notes. "Dinner?" she asked simply. "The cafeteria is serving that terrible meatloaf you seem to actually enjoy." Her presence was refreshing. No games, no social manipulation, just straightforward professional respect. They discussed cases over coffee and meatloaf. Their conversation focused on medicine rather than status or wealth. Everett's phone buzzed again. "Jillian," predictably. "Mike says your suspension's guaranteed once we get back. Hope you enjoyed playing hero today." He showed the message to Dr. Carter, who raised an eyebrow. "Your wife doesn't understand medicine, does she? It's not about playing hero. It's about doing what needs to be done." Soon-to-be ex-wife, he corrected. And no, she never understood. She saw surgery as an inconvenience to her social calendar. "Their loss," Nancy replied simply. "Tomorrow's neurosurgery conference. Are you presenting the trauma protocol paper?" The transition from personal drama to professional discussion was seamless, natural. No emotional manipulation, no social climbing, just shared dedication to their field. Later that night, Everett received an urgent call from Sophia. "Pacific Medical's board is meeting tomorrow. Apparently, Mike's brother has been pushing for some kind of merger deal involving your private practice." "Let them push," Everett replied, reviewing security footage of Jillian and Mike's latest escapades. "Every move they make adds to our evidence." The next morning brought new challenges. More trauma cases, more lives hanging in the balance. Through it all, Everett maintained his focus, his skills unaffected by personal turmoil. Between surgeries, he met with his legal team. The evidence was mounting: financial fraud, medical record theft, attempted sabotage of emergency care. Mike's pattern of targeting successful doctors was being exposed, his brother's judicial protection crumbling. "They're planning something big," Sophia warned, showing him surveillance photos. "Pacific Medical's board, Mike's brother, your wife? They're all connected to this medical tourism scheme? Then let's make sure every connection is documented," Everett replied, heading to his next surgery. Every meeting, every call, every transaction. Dr. Carter joined him for the complex procedure, their surgical teamwork drawing admiring comments from the observation gallery. Her presence in the OR was steadying. No drama, no hidden agendas, just pure medical expertise. As they scrubbed out, she turned to him. "You know they're watching, waiting for any mistake." "Let them watch," he replied, checking his next case. Medicine isn't about ego or social status. It's about saving lives. The day ended with another board meeting. Pacific Medical's merger proposal was discussed, their connections to Mike and his brother now under scrutiny. Everett's performance during the crisis had strengthened his position, while Jillian and Mike's schemes were unraveling. In his office, reviewing the day's events, Everett felt no regret. His wife's betrayal had revealed important truths about loyalty, about dedication, about what really mattered in life. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles. But for now, he had his work, his evidence, and unexpectedly, allies who understood what it meant to be truly dedicated to medicine. The contrast couldn't be clearer. While Jillian and Mike plotted in their luxury resort, Everett continued saving lives, his surgical skills untouched by their schemes. Their attempts to paint him as unstable had backfired spectacularly, serving only to highlight the difference between true dedication and shallow ambition. His phone buzzed one last time. Another threat from Jillian, another boast about taking everything. He silenced it without reading the message. Tomorrow would bring more emergencies, more lives to save, more evidence to gather. Let them plot and scheme. Every move they made only proved what he'd finally realized. Sometimes the best surgery was removing toxic people from one's life. And like all his operations, This one would be performed with precision, skill, and absolutely no regret. 2 weeks had passed since Jillian's departure. The morning sun cast long shadows across the renovated Victorian home as a silver BMW pulled into the driveway. Jillian stepped out, her designer sundress clashing with the smug determination on her face. Mike followed in his signature expensive suit, already rehearsing his victory speech. Ready to see a broken man, baby? Mike adjusted his tie, shooting her a conspiratorial smile. Your key still works, right? Jillian's manicured fingers found her keychain. Of course. It's still my house. Soon to be completely mine, thanks to your brother. The key slid into the lock but wouldn't turn. Frowning, she tried again, then again, her frustration mounting with each attempt. Problems? Mike's confidence wavered slightly. Before Jillian could answer, movement caught her eye. Through the kitchen window, she saw a woman in elegant casual wear moving comfortably through what had been Jillian's domain. The woman was beautiful in an effortless way, lacking the artificial polish Jillian had cultivated. Who the hell is that? Jillian's voice rose. In MY kitchen? The front door opened, revealing Everett in casual clothes, looking relaxed and amused. Behind him stood the woman from the kitchen, her presence both graceful and authoritative. Meet Nancy, Everett said simply, his voice carrying the same precision he used in surgery. Your replacement. Both at home and as head of neurosurgery. Jillian's face contorted. My what? You can't replace me. I'm Mrs. Higgins. Actually, Nancy stepped forward, her professional confidence a stark contrast to Jillian's increasingly hysterical demeanor. You're Mrs. Love now, according to your social media, though I suspect that status might be changing soon. This is MY house. Jillian screeched, her designer purse swinging wildly. Mike, do something. Your brother's a judge. Tell them. Mike puffed up his chest, attempting to intimidate. Now see here, Higgins. My brother will. Will what? Everett's smile held surgical precision. Recuse himself from all cases involving the hospital? He already has. Something about avoiding investigation into judicial misconduct. Jillian's screams about divorce and property rights echoed through the upscale neighborhood. Mrs. Peterson appeared on her porch, phone raised discreetly, documenting everything. I'll ruin you. Jillian jabbed a finger at Everett. I'll tell everyone about your mental instability. Your attempts to fabricate mental health concerns have already been disproven, Nancy interjected calmly. The governor's commendation for saving his nephew was quite clear about Dr. Higgins' exceptional stability under pressure. Mike's phone buzzed. His face paled as he read the message. Baby, we need to go. The hospital board is asking questions about those medical supplies we acquired. Don't you dare leave. Jillian rounded on him. You promised me everything. The house, the practice, his money. Their argument attracted attention. Neighbors emerged onto porches, witnessing the spectacle of the formerly sophisticated Mrs. Higgins having a public meltdown. Security cameras, Everett commented mildly. They're fascinating things. Like the ones that caught you stealing hospital supplies, or the ones documenting your business meetings during hospital hours. Jillian's rage found a new target. She lunged toward the house, only to be stopped by Nancy's calm presence in the doorway. I wouldn't, Nancy advised. The police are already on their way. Apparently, someone reported attempted breaking and entering. The sound of shattering glass cut through the morning air. Mike and Everett turned to see Jillian hurling Everett's medical awards through windows, her designer dress collecting glass shards. This is assault, Mike shouted, pulling out his phone. I'm calling the board members right now. They'll hear about this. On speakerphone? Everett raised an eyebrow. Perfect. More documentation for our case. Police sirens wailed in the distance as Jillian continued her rampage. Her carefully maintained image crumbled with each thrown award, each hysterical scream revealing the ugliness beneath her polished exterior. Mrs. Love, Officer Stevens approached carefully. Please step away from the broken glass. It's Mrs. Higgins, she shrieked, mascara running. This is my house. I decorated it. Actually, Everett interrupted, holding up a document. It's my grandmother's house, left solely to me. A fact your boyfriend's legal team overlooked. Mike's threatening phone call to board members turned to stammering as police approached. His expensive suit couldn't hide his nervous sweat as officers began taking statements from gathered neighbors. "This is all your fault." Jillian turned on Mike. "You promised me everything. Your brother was supposed to handle this." "My brother," Mike's voice cracked, "has bigger problems now. The Judicial Review Board is very interested in his connection to Pacific Medical." Sophia Reynolds appeared, legal documents in hand, particularly regarding certain patient information that was illegally sold. The divorce proceedings that followed were swift and devastating. Evidence mounted daily: security footage of medical supply theft, documented attempts to sabotage emergency care, proof of patient information trafficking. In the courthouse, Jillian's attempts to claim abuse fell apart as hospital security footage showed her misconduct. Her designer outfit couldn't hide her desperation as each charge was read. "Your Honor," her lawyer attempted, "my client was manipulated by—" "Save it," the judge interrupted, reviewing the evidence. "The security footage alone is damning. Add the documented theft of medical supplies and patient information trafficking." Mike's brother had hastily recused himself, his judicial career crumbling under investigation. The evidence trail led straight through his position on Pacific Medical's board to the offshore accounts where patient information payments had been processed. "How dare you!" Jillian had screamed when the ruling was announced. "I made you. I gave up everything for—" "No," Everett's calm voice cut through her theatrics. "You gave up everything for designer clothes and social status. And now you've lost even that." The criminal charges came next. The hospital board, furious about patient information leaks, filed additional charges. Mike's HR license was revoked, his carefully built empire of manipulation collapsing. 1 year later, the transformation was complete. Everett and Nancy's wedding announcement in the local paper drew attention not for its social significance, but for their joint achievements in medicine. They had turned Mercy General's trauma center into the country's top-ranked facility. Jillian saw the announcement from behind the reception desk at a small walk-in clinic, her designer wardrobe replaced by practical scrubs. Her honeymoon tan had faded along with her dreams of wealth and status. Mike handled paperwork at a construction company, his corporate career destroyed. His brother had resigned from the bench, avoiding criminal charges but losing all professional standing. Lorraine worked retail, her betrayal of professional trust making medical administration jobs impossible. During their honeymoon in Italy, a real one, focused on visiting medical facilities rather than beach resorts, Everett and Nancy received news of their trauma center's latest achievement. "Top-ranked again," Nancy noted, reviewing the email. "Your surgical protocols are being adapted nationwide." "Our protocols," Everett corrected, his hand finding hers. Success means more when it's earned through dedication rather than manipulation. Back in their Victorian home, now warm with genuine life rather than artificial sophistication, they occasionally saw Jillian's clinic advertising free flu shots in the local paper. Mike's construction company handled small renovations, his dreams of corporate power reduced to filing permits. During hospital rounds, Everett shared a vital lesson with his residents. Some patients don't survive their own toxicity. The key is recognizing the poison before it spreads. Nancy, passing by with her own team of neurosurgery residents, added her perspective. And sometimes the best treatment is complete removal of toxic elements. The Victorian house stood proud, its rooms filled with medical journals rather than fashion magazines, its walls displaying new achievements rather than social photos. In the end, justice had been served not through dramatic confrontations, but through careful documentation and unwavering dedication to truth. Jillian watched it all from her tiny apartment above a convenience store, understanding too late what she had lost. Not just wealth and status, but a man of true character and talent, replaced by someone who truly understood the value of both. Mike lived with the consequences of his actions. His attempts to contact former colleagues met with silence. His brother avoided public appearances, his judicial misconduct a whispered warning in legal circles. The story became a cautionary tale at Mercy General. How a renowned surgeon had turned attempted destruction into complete renewal, replacing toxic relationships with genuine success. The best revenge, Everett told a young resident who asked about the story, is living well and saving lives. Everything else is just collecting evidence. Nancy's smile held understanding. She had replaced not just a wife, but a whole approach to life, choosing substance over appearance, dedication over manipulation, real achievement over social climbing. In their shared office at the trauma center, two framed documents hung side by side. The divorce decree that had freed Everett from toxicity and the certification ranking their center as the nation's best. Together, they told a story of transformation, of replacing poison with purpose. Jillian saw them occasionally at medical conferences, where she worked check-in desks. Her attempts to catch their attention went unnoticed as they focused on presenting groundbreaking procedures and life-saving protocols. Mike watched from the sidelines of hospital construction projects, his corporate suits replaced by work clothes, his dreams of manipulation destroyed by the very documentation systems he had once controlled. The Victorian house adapted too, its rooms gradually reflecting the shared life of two dedicated medical professionals. Nancy's textbooks mixed with Everett's research papers, creating an atmosphere of genuine accomplishment rather than artificial status. On quiet evenings, they sometimes discussed the transformation, not with regret or bitterness, but with the clinical appreciation of surgeons who had successfully removed a tumor. Some operations, Everett would say, reviewing cases with residents, require complete replacement of damaged tissue. The key is ensuring the replacement is stronger than the original. Nancy's addition to his lectures became legendary, and sometimes the best replacements are the ones you never saw coming. The local paper's society pages, which had once featured Jillian's charity galas, now carried stories of medical breakthroughs and lives saved. Real achievements had replaced social climbing. True dedication had overcome manipulation. In the end, the replacement had been complete. A toxic wife replaced by a dedicated partner, artificial status replaced by genuine achievement, manipulation replaced by merit. And in the halls of Mercy General, where lives were saved daily, the story served as a reminder that sometimes the most important surgeries were the ones that cut toxic influences from life itself. The evidence remained filed away. Security footage, financial records, documented betrayals. But the real proof of justice lay in the transformed lives of those involved, some rising through dedication, others falling through their own toxicity. Success, they discovered, was indeed the best revenge. But it was a revenge served not through dramatic confrontations, but through the steady accumulation of achievements, the quiet satisfaction of lives saved, and the knowledge that in the end, quality always replaces superficiality. The replacement had been complete, transforming not just a marriage, but an entire approach to life. And in the surgical wing of Mercy General, where Everett and Nancy continued saving lives, the story became a different kind of medical lesson. Sometimes the best treatment for toxicity isn't just removal, it's replacement with something infinitely better. Extended epilogue, 5 years later. The small walk-in clinic's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across Jillian Love's face, highlighting the premature lines that stress and bitterness had carved around her mouth. Her once perfect manicure was practical and short now, better suited for filing insurance papers than social climbing. The navy scrubs she wore were a far cry from her former designer wardrobe. Mrs. Peterson needs her prescription refilled, her supervisor announced, dropping a file on Jillian's desk. Try not to make coding errors this time. Jillian's fingers tightened on her cheap plastic pen. 5 years ago, she would have sneered at anyone suggesting she'd end up working reception at a strip mall clinic. Now, she could barely afford the rent on her one-bedroom apartment above the convenience store. The local newspaper lay open on her desk, its medical section featuring a familiar face. Dr. Everett Higgins and Dr. Nancy Carter Higgins smiled from the photo, standing in front of Mercy General's newly expanded trauma center. The headline read, "Revolutionary Trauma Protocol Saves Thousands. Higgins Method Adopted Nationwide." "Your ex is in the paper again," her co-worker mentioned, not unkindly. "Something about a presidential commendation for medical innovation." Jillian slammed the newspaper shut, but not before catching glimpses of other headlines. Pacific Medical Corruption Investigation concludes, and former Judge Love faces federal charges. Across town, in a dusty construction site trailer, Mike Love stared at overdue permit applications. His once expensive suit had been replaced by off-the-rack khakis and a worn polo shirt. The small construction company where he processed paperwork barely covered his child support payments, his third marriage having failed as spectacularly as his scheme with Jillian. Love, his supervisor barked. Those permits were due yesterday. And your ex-wife's lawyer called again about the late payments. Mike's hands shook as he reached for his coffee mug. The designer watch he'd once flaunted replaced by a plastic Casio. His brother's legal troubles had destroyed any chance of returning to corporate work. The Love family name, once powerful in legal circles, now served as a cautionary tale in ethics seminars. At the courthouse where Judge Love had once presided, a new ethics compliance office occupied his former chambers. The investigation into patient information trafficking had uncovered decades of judicial misconduct, leading to dozens of cases being reopened. The former judge now lived in a modest apartment in Florida, his retirement savings drained by legal fees. Meanwhile, at Mercy General's prestigious trauma center, Dr. Nancy Carter Higgins led a team of residents through morning rounds. The hospital had tripled its trauma care capacity under her and Everett's leadership, their combined expertise drawing patients and students from around the world. Dr. Carter Higgins, a young resident, approached. The new neurosurgical wing. Is it true it's being named after you? Nancy smiled, her natural confidence having only grown over the years. The Carter Higgins Neurological Trauma Unit opens next month. Though I'm more proud of our success rates than any naming ceremonies. In his office, Everett reviewed the latest statistics. Their trauma center's mortality rate had dropped to unprecedented levels, their treatment protocols becoming the national standard. Professional journals regularly featured their research, and medical schools worldwide taught the Higgins method. Your 9 o'clock is here, his new office manager announced. The medical board wants to discuss expanding the protocol training program. Lorraine, his former manager, occasionally emailed from her retail job in another state. Her attempts to find administrative work had failed, her role in the patient information scheme following her despite her eventual cooperation. Her testimony had helped convict several Pacific Medical Board members, but her career in healthcare was permanently ended. The Victorian house had evolved with its owner's success. The rooms Jillian had once filled with designer furniture now housed a state-of-the-art home office where Everett and Nancy often worked late, their shared dedication to medicine creating a warmth no social climbing could match. Mrs. Peterson still lived next door, her detailed documentation of Jillian and Mike's schemes having become a case study in medical ethics courses. Her daughter Margaret had parlayed her role in exposing the corruption into a successful career prosecuting medical fraud. Did you see who's working at the pharmacy now? Mrs. Peterson mentioned during one of her frequent visits. That nurse who helped Mike and Jillian steal supplies. She's counting pills instead of selling them. The ripples of justice had spread wide. Pacific Medical's board had been disbanded, their medical tourism scheme exposed as a front for insurance fraud. Several former board members shared prison cells with the administrators who'd facilitated the patient information trafficking. Sophia Reynolds had been appointed chief legal counsel for a national medical ethics board, her exposure of the Love brothers' corruption earning her a reputation as a fearless defender of medical integrity. She often used the case in her lectures on healthcare fraud prevention. Your ex-wife tried to apply for an administrative position here, Sophia mentioned during a board meeting. Her resume listed her experience as medical office management. Apparently, 5 years as a clinic receptionist counts. The hospital staff still told stories about the day Jillian had thrown Everett's medical awards through windows. Those awards now filled a wall in the trauma center's main hall, joined by dozens more earned by both Everett and Nancy. The broken windows had become a metaphor for shattering false appearances. At medical conferences, Everett and Nancy's presentations drew standing room crowds. Their papers on integrating trauma and neurological care had revolutionized emergency medicine. Young doctors competed fiercely for residencies under their supervision. Dr. Higgins, a colleague, commented during a conference in Boston, I heard your ex-wife's latest boyfriend was one of the administrators indicted in the Pacific Medical scandal. Old habits die hard, it seems. Mike's attempts to rebuild his life faced constant setbacks. His role in the patient information scheme had made him unemployable in corporate settings. Each small company that hired him eventually discovered his past, leading to swift terminations. Remember when you promised me everything? Jillian had screamed during their last encounter 3 years ago in the clinic's parking lot. Look at us now. You're pushing papers for contractors, and I'm working reception. Their toxic romance had combusted spectacularly. Mike's third wife had discovered his pattern of targeting wealthy professionals, leading to another messy divorce. His child support payments kept him in a studio apartment, his dreams of luxury reduced to browsing real estate listings he couldn't afford. Hospital security footage of their misconduct had become training material for healthcare compliance programs. Their schemes, once seemingly clever, now served as textbook examples of what not to do in medical administration. The trauma center's success had attracted international attention. Medical organizations worldwide sought to implement the Higgins-Carter protocols, leading to a global reduction in trauma mortality rates. Their professional collaboration had saved more lives than Jillian had collected designer shoes. "I saw Mike at the courthouse," Margaret Peterson reported during a Sunday dinner. "He was trying to get his child support payments reduced. Apparently, pushing papers doesn't pay as well as selling patient information." The former judge had attempted to write a memoir, positioning himself as a victim of circumstance. Publishers had rejected it, their legal departments wary of the ongoing federal investigation into judicial misconduct. His Florida retirement community whispered about his past, his attempts at golf club membership denied. Lorraine's retail career had topped out at assistant manager. Her knowledge of medical office procedures, once valuable, now reminded potential employers of her ethical failures. She spent holidays alone, her professional relationships destroyed by her betrayal. Nancy's neurosurgical innovations had earned her profiles in medical journals. The contrast between her genuine achievements and Jillian's superficial social climbing served as a powerful reminder that substance outlasts style. "Your predecessors made quite a mess," Nancy's office manager commented, reviewing old files. "It's hard to believe they thought they could get away with it." The Victorian house had become a symbol of transformation. The rooms where Jillian had once hosted shallow social gatherings now witnessed discussions of medical breakthroughs. Nancy's touch had brought warmth without pretension, success without manipulation. The Trauma Center's annual report included a section on ethics and compliance, using the Pacific medical scandal as a case study. Medical students learned how attempts to undermine legitimate healthcare providers could lead to professional destruction. "Whatever happened to that HR director?" new residents would ask, hearing the story. "The one who tried to steal everything?" Mike's construction company job barely covered his basic expenses. His attempts to network in the industry failed as background checks revealed his history. The brother who had once promised judicial protection now avoided his calls, focused on his own legal survival. Jillian's social media presence had dwindled to occasional posts about clinic events. Her former friends, all chosen for status and connections, had disappeared with her fall from grace. The designer clothes she'd once flaunted hung in consignment shops, price tags reflecting their diminished value. The medical board's investigation had uncovered similar schemes at other hospitals, leading to a nationwide review of HR practices. Mike's pattern of targeting successful doctors through their wives became a warning story in hospital administration courses. "Remember when they thought they could take everything?" Everett mused during a quiet evening at home. "They never understood that real value isn't in possessions." Nancy's response reflected their shared perspective. They tried to steal success without earning it. That never works in medicine or in life. Their professional partnership had expanded beyond the trauma center. Together, they had developed training programs for emergency medical response, their methods reducing mortality rates across the country. Their marriage, built on mutual respect and shared dedication, stood in stark contrast to the shallow relationships their predecessors had pursued. Mrs. Peterson had compiled her documentation into a book on medical ethics, co-authored with her daughter. The Replacement, a case study in healthcare fraud, had become required reading in hospital administration courses. The clinic where Jillian worked struggled with high turnover, her bitter attitude contributing to a negative atmosphere. Young receptionists quickly learned to avoid mentioning Mercy General or its renowned trauma team. "Did you know she used to be married to Dr. Higgins?" they whispered during breaks. "Can you imagine giving up all that for an HR scammer?" Mike's construction company eventually fired him after discovering he'd attempted to manipulate building permits. His pattern of seeking shortcuts and exploiting connections had survived his fall, though his opportunities for harm had dramatically diminished. The former judge's Florida retirement became less comfortable as legal fees mounted. Federal investigators had uncovered decades of corruption, each revelation diminishing his pension and social standing. Lorraine's retail job offered no opportunity for the power plays she'd once facilitated. Her employee discount on clothing provided a bitter reminder of the designer wardrobe she'd helped Jillian inventory for divorce proceedings. The trauma center's success had attracted generous donations, funding research that saved countless lives. Everett and Nancy's protocols had transformed emergency medicine, their professional legacy secured through dedication rather than manipulation. Your former daughter-in-law called again, the judge's caregiver reported. She's looking for money for some investment scheme. Should I tell her you're still in meetings with federal investigators? The ripples of consequence continued spreading. Each player in the failed takeover attempt had discovered that genuine success requires more than manipulation and social climbing. Their attempts to steal prominence had led to permanent professional exile. I heard Mike's living in a studio apartment now, Jillian complained to anyone who would listen. He promised me a mansion, and he can't even afford a one-bedroom. The trauma center's walls displayed photographs of lives saved, teams trained, and innovations developed. Among them hung a simple plaque, "Excellence through integrity," a quiet reminder that true success grows from genuine dedication. 5 years had transformed more than careers. It had revealed the hollow nature of social climbing, the futility of manipulation, and the lasting power of genuine achievement. Each player had reaped the consequences of their choices, their fates serving as warnings in professional circles. In the end, the replacement had indeed been complete, not just of a wife or a position, but of an entire approach to life and success. The toxic had been excised, replaced by something infinitely more valuable: integrity, dedication, and genuine achievement. And in the halls of Mercy General, where lives were saved daily under the Higgins-Carter protocols, the story served as a powerful reminder that sometimes the most important replacements are the ones that transform not just positions, but entire legacies. The final replacement had been of artifice with authenticity, proving that genuine success, built on dedication and integrity, always outlasts the shallow victories of manipulation and greed. And that, perhaps, was the most satisfying replacement of all.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy the story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.